ya wakasa bi so bibi wa gro mu a ya na yentimi nyiwa yi pamu ena enkomo pi na ekoso enam se yenua Honorable Tres Stuttgart Kobracha Samna Mekan yes Brekum West MP ono ankasa Central Adwuman waya from Sunyane to Kumase osakoye BA United CEO ene ono ena move motion no na ohwe motion na move ye no a na chese o make statement say enam se tutu asemu a eto dwadodo na wo ye stadium ahodo no ade ha adwun ye pa na oto aso excited de na nu ye esi ye between Inswaterman and Kotoko yentie de ono move motion Honorable Tres Stuttgart ewo mrahye fie ene.
I make this statement as a result of the rising acts of vandalisms, acts of hooliganisms at our various game centers, and specifically in relation to the 19th week Premier League match played on the 2nd of February 2025, which resulted in the brutal stabbing of a Kotoko fan, Nana Yao Frempong, known as Pooley. Mr. Speaker, football is a sport that unites us as a people. It is a game of passion. It brings joy to millions of people across our nation. However, when that passion is tainted by violence, it ceases to be the beautiful game we all love. The events that unfolded before, during, and after that Premier League game are not only despicable, but a stain on the integrity of Ghanaian football and on our national character. Honorable Speaker, the tragic loss of life is not an isolated case, but a part of worrying trend of violence in our sports. About 24 years ago, Mr. Speaker, as a young sports journalist myself, working at the Radio Windy Bay, I was in Accra Sports Stadium on that fateful day on the 9th of May 2001 to cover Kumasi Asante Kotoko Accra Hasofo Premier League game match. On that fateful day, Ghana recorded the most tragic event in this history when 127 lives were lost as a result of football violence. Mr. Speaker, in the wake of this national calamity, the then President of the Republic, His Excellency John Adekum Kufuor, constituted a commission of inquiry, that's CI-34, to investigate the matter and make appropriate recommendations. Mr. Speaker, notwithstanding the far-reaching recommendations made to forestall future occurrences, football violence continues to plague the nation. Mr. Speaker, for example, Ghana were left dumbfounded when one of its topmost female referees, Teresa Bremensu, who was officiating in the 2019 Women Special Competition between prisons and Ampindakwa ladies, was beaten to pulp by the fans for what they claimed she failing to add extra time after the 90 minutes elapsed. Again in 2020, Mr. Speaker, we are aware of a Kotoko fan, Augustine Opon, who was shot in the eye when violence broke in the game against Kumasi Asante Kotoko and Brekum Chelsea. Also, just 2 years ago, my very good friend Edwin Aka, the general manager of Samatex FC, and other officials and players of Samatex FC were brutally assaulted in a Division 1 League match in Daboase in the game against Sky FC. Honorable Speaker, despite all the education, reminders, sensitizations, sanctions aimed at eradicating hooliganism, the act continues to be part of Ghanaian game with many casualties frequently recorded. Mr. Speaker, the situation calls for urgent action from all stakeholders. We as parliamentarians have roles to play: government, football officials, security agencies, clubs, and supporters. There is an urgent need.
Wutien komonwa na chasa Brekum West MP Honorable Tres Stuttgart woni de ewa agudie ni mo no ena peja ansa no ba ya bebi asisi nyina no wasati ye enkomo no atwetwe Boga Central MP Edni Bewuram Honorable Isaac Adongo na nkasem no order right Honorable Aseno na okomande Stuttgart so de nkomo ya ba na utie akwa ni mu a wose enne Kotoko na atu ninti na ye kase atutu bebre ya yenhwe ha.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I want to commend the maker of the statement. Mr. Speaker, football is the passion of this country, but this is just one too many. Today we are discussing this unfortunate situation because it involves Asante Kotoko. But there have been a series of such events in our country where supporters think that when they disagree, they must take the law into their hands. And this should bring finality to such incidents in our football. Nobody should die following your passion. I understand the man left behind 6 children. This is a very, very difficult situation for his family. And Mr. Speaker, I think that we need to take football a lot more serious. The rules of football is not just the rules on the field. Mr. Speaker, what are the protocols for making a football field fit for purpose? Not everywhere is fit for purpose. What we are playing football on are what we call parks. They don't qualify to hold soccer matches. We must take the licensing of stadia very, very important, so that we'll tick all the boxes to ensure that when people go to a stadia or go to a football field, that football field is fit for purpose. So we must begin to license our football fields. And when we begin to do, you realize that many places such as Infantryman will not qualify to host football matches, let alone for us to die the way we are dying. Mr. Speaker, I was very sad to hear my colleague mention that they were struggling to get very simple first aid. You don't have ambulances. You have no business playing football in such a field. That is a death trap. But we go there and nothing happens, so we think that is a football field. No. What was the police situation at the football field? Where were the police? What was the requirement of security that was supposed to be upheld in the stadium? In this particular instance, the information we have is that this young man had been threatened prior to the match, and that the security agencies should have known that what happened to the young man could happen, because he is accused of having made comments that did not go down well with the other club ahead of the match, and he was threatened. And yet we allowed the football match to happen without security to protect this young man. So, Mr. Speaker, I would like to call on you to direct the Ministry of Sports to take this matter very seriously, and that if the GFA cannot follow rigorous protocols for licensing our football stadia, we should not be playing football as a country, because football is a serious business and it's about life. And whether you like it or not, some people are going to be dissatisfied and may take the law into their hands. Whether you like it or not, if you do not license stadia, you are going to have football fields that will play on that don't even have ambulances, where the protocol may require you to bring over 40 policemen. You are right there and only 2 policemen are there guiding and protecting scores or spectators. The end result is that people die needlessly. We mustn't die following the passion of football. So, Mr. Speaker, I would like to call on this House to take on the GFA to properly make sure that before football returns, we are prepared in all respects, and that our football fields are fit for purpose. Currently, what we call football fields are just parks. They are just like we're doing in our area, where you just call neighbors across the road and you are playing football. That is what is happening. And we cannot be doing that for people to die needlessly. So, Mr. Speaker, I commend the maker of the statement, and I thank you for indulging me, except to say that this mustn't end with a talk show. We must see some action being taken to sanitize football in our country and to make sure that our football fields are safe for purpose, that we will not hear this conversation again anytime soon.
MP for Boko Central, Honorable Isaac Adongo, wakom papati kobrache move by no na Boga Central MP so edene de abeto aso ye ku anim emrache be de fi wona
o kan sem bi ti no minim se wadwene ba ho a
de hina
o se o he park e bobobo so a on the friend park one friend stadium o se ete se kanen no ana e bobobo mantem bo no aha park ana e bobobo so nsa na tie na nkobe hyese nka mahye be o hwese mahye bedwafie asema o mo kankansi ba bi o mo kan no na
enye talk show keke
na omo mfra efefo no na omo mra so omo ntimi mfa football mra nya adwuma emie mo ball wo park papa so dia league no ehia se ya bobiem eno ne asema ye nyina ye ka no
ena aso be simi book no so se be wi gibo so kan sa kwani no da ho na ofre no bodi magaso ma
na ye tie ya
ye busa za ke se yentimi ton san frɛ every president ho
eno na ye start show na meken ye tie ya ka sei solo ene tino de odi animu ona kire kwan ana meboa ye you edu si ade ano se wo ne panyina oda ano a wo ne kwankyerefo ye ti ha ne ya ye kasai every president team dream FC the stadium continue bo eso so akotu bo ho akotu bo ho Ghana nkoa ne oman a bo ye nyina etubi we fie ene ne be na nsakura metubu o me ho ni atena we say $5,000 for one ball
actually din bi ankasa
ye from ye ball Ghana bi aka na no atum
ma she be je fe do ntim ko ka won ntum hwe
e say ye tu ball hold ye pitch ye na ball hold na ba na ye pitch na say more than the na ball hold no kura ni ho asem what be that nti parliamentarians no omon from
yes
so omon mpene emie mo ball e wo park a te say ayi ba me te say oyi ba ko so no abo a ayi onabo ayi ayarga me te ni de so ba ko do obo wi e be ka ho asem me tu do obo wi a ye be ka ho asem apoto bibre wo da ho so mi be penti wa ya be de no apenti tino yenko
yeguso ku yanim ye da so gina mra hye badafie na after say the move motion ba ye no aye Bekum West MP Honorable Kobra Stuttgart and Amoterenka and MP for Boga Central Honorable Azekadongo and na mutire sesia na ye ku yanim aye Honorable Sami Ewuku MP for Akuapem North and also da Honorable Ase na obo Kobra Stuttgart so kofa sami aba ne de o make sure say o de be fa officiating kakra.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I rise to contribute to the statement made by the Honorable Member of Parliament for Bekum West. So, Speaker, let me also, first of all, extend deepest condolences to the bereaved family and to the deceased. So, Speaker, there are 4 things that excite passion and inflames passion within our society. These 4 things for me: 1, football; 2, religion; 3, ethnic issues; and also 4, political issues. What is before us today is association football. Right, Honorable Speaker, in contributing to the statement made by the Honorable colleague Member of Parliament, I would also like us to also situate the matter. You cannot separate these acts of vandalism, hooliganism, and riotous behavior of fans also from sometimes poor officiating. If we cast our mind back to many of the issues around the world, anytime you have these huge disagreements among fans, at the heart of it has been a refereeing decision one way or the other. I would like us to also get the Referees Association of Ghana and the Football Administration to also pay keen attention to sometimes bad officiating or questionable officiating. I'm saying this because in today's football world, it's no longer what it used to be under the good days of Wilberforce Infum, the Golden Boy Abdul Razak and co, where football was played just to excite people or to entertain people. This time around, it's become a very commercial venture, and people get into these stands knowing very well and working out the odds on what they intend to achieve at the end of the day. I believe these acts of hooliganism are despicable, and it is about time that we don't just pay lip service to these matters when they are raised, but also get the law enforcement agencies to also enforce the laws. One of the main issues that for me continue to also agitate my mind has to do with the issue of citing drinking spots and beer bars around these stadia and sports facilities. One, you cannot enter the stadium with alcohol, but the people just take it before entering. So they enter, and the time that they reach that peak, that is when the match is also at this height. So one, we also have to be clear on the modalities and the guidelines and what we can also have around the various sporting facilities. Today we have a colleague down that I'm an unrepentant fan of Kumasi Asante Kotoko, but I also believe that in helping protect lives within the various precincts of our sports facilities, we have to look at the very things that are cited around it. Yes, you can have food joints, but the sighting of sometimes some of these drinking bars is also a disturbance. Number 2 has to do with also enhanced security within the stadium. In the various stands, apart from having people who are wearing security badges and uniforms, you can also have plainclothes security. And that is what many of these countries are using within their stadiums. Mr. Speaker, football is the passion of the nation. Wherever you even have even small teams playing within our communities, you can see that tension is always high.
How much more when it has to do with league standings and the position of these teams on the various league tables. So whilst I commend my colleague, I would like, Mr. Speaker, with your kind direction, get the sports minister to also pay keen attention, one, to the issue of security, issues of officiating and refereeing, and third issue has to do with the siting of these drinking bars around the various stadiums.
Member Miansano Ekasawi no na I was say twetwe ma no nso bewuram Honorable Millicent Amankwaye MP for Sunyani West wono so Edna no ebetu mu na ne nkomo ni nyina no ene sese monitor anyema yi a kansese sadi we kura no itimi esie.
On the situation of an unfortunate situation that happened in Nsiache with the match between the Kotoko and Nsiache man. It happened in Nsiache, which is my constituency. I would like to extend my condolence to the entire family of the deceased. Mr. Speaker, on this note, we need to be very much careful and put in better and proper measures when there is match like this, because we have different supporters with different views and excitement. People come out and communicate or express their excitement in a different way. And so with this unfortunate situation happening in my constituency, which I believe it shouldn't happen in any constituency, the entire sports ministries and heads or owners and management of football clubs should take this serious and make sure that these things do not happen again. And on that note, Mr. Speaker, I believe that we should have a risk assessment before any match takes place, because we need to make sure that the park or wherever they are having this football games are well kept. We have CCTV cameras in case of emergency. We have proper security personnel. Even in addition of these military personnel can be added to it. Mr. Speaker, I believe that if much concentration and monitorization is put in place, we monitor the situation well, I don't believe that these things would happen. When this issue happened in my constituency, it called a lot of emergency, because if you look at where the ambulance service is in Nsiache, they went far. We couldn't even get an ambulance at this particular situation. And it's rather unfortunate that my good brother, my father, the former MP for Sunyani West, I was really worried because he's a senior colleague of mine and I share with him at this particular situation, and I wish him well, because it can happen to anybody. And I pray that if measures are kept well and put in place, all these matters will reduce. Mr. Speaker, we need to make sure we have first aid in situations and places like this, so that measures can be taken as early as possible. Because looking at the supporter of Kotoko, it means that if they had first aid available, we could have found a way to save him as early as possible. Again, Mr. Speaker, I would like to plead with the entire security and medical professionals, as I earlier on made, to have an emergency plan with a sports team in case such situation happens, so that we'll be able to help save lives and educate our fans in matters and how they should be jubilating when issues happen. And even the terrain that supporters need to, if they are ticketing that we're supposed to give to them, and monitor the number so they will not have a stampede at the park or the stadium, I think it will go a long way to help us.
Yankoyanim na yadwei ena bewie wode na esi emrahye bedwafie eno de enye ne nemom majority leader Honorable Mahama Yarga and ate ho kakra e de a kire wiase nyina se yes we no sports and recreation minister Kofi Adams Honorable egoso ye adwuma den hwanimu se dachi bia no obetimi atwetwe super sport ene other broadcast holders ni bi na omaba abede ene omo de nyina no abeyi league no me ahwebie yentie de ode etudwa.
The minister is already holding meetings with the media to see how we can project sports. Indeed, he has revealed to me that he is looking to negotiate for super sports and others to begin to cover our local leagues. Because, Mr. Speaker, when the local leagues are covered by super sports, what it means is that people sitting in South Africa can see our boys playing, our boys and girls playing
And from South Africa, they can begin to identify and come and scout for those people. So the footballers themselves, when they see that their tournaments are covered on Super Sports, they know that a global platform is being provided them to showcase their skills so that scouts all over the world can view and then come and try and then recruit them to their various countries. And also that he is going to invest and get support and sponsorship for the various teams in the regions so they can have good coaches, they can have support to be able to compete effectively, train and recruit and retain very good footballers, buy very good players, and then also up the quality of our local league so that people will really like to go and watch our leagues instead of wanting to sit at home and watch the European leagues.
Good. Yamra na yam 5 for the NBM bi Emra Emewie na Prosper Harrison Ado and a general secretary for the FA and I say na monto bia omutu so football be kan pa bom no omugusu tu nanso ya na nipesu
are all steps in the process. Key among them is also human behavior. Indeed, if I go to the park and you go to the park and we follow the rules and we are each brother's keeper and we are friendly with each other as football demands, because football is supposed to bring us together. Today you will win, tomorrow somebody else will win. If in football only one team is guaranteed to win forever, I don't think we will love the sports. We like the sports because we know on the rare occasion the underdog will beat the tough guy, and we know there are times that the big team or the team with all the stars may try to win, but the underdog can pull up a draw.
Referees chairman George Seja and the two guys as will be any referees now, so no referees no poor decision at the piano a quarter to Trasimi at the bar.
Is it only referee that contributes to poor the hooliganism? No. Whoever said that, if I say I'll buy that as one of the issues, that will not be very some. If you say some, I will agree with you because you will not have the type of outstanding performance from all the referees. That's the first thing you should take note of. If you say factors, there are so many factors to that particular effect. It's like an octopus with so many limbs. Hooliganism is not only about referee poor performance of referees. I know some of our members have not lived up to expectation, and that is why we talk about constant training. When we have constant training, etc., the week in, week out, you will not have minimum. Even though there may be some challenges, but you have minimum. But that doesn't mean that if there's hooliganism, you take it upon yourself. Say that is not part of the issue. That is immaterial. You don't need to do that.
Head of competition Julius Ben Emina Wakasa Nelso Jibo Yemfawe Emewiachna Yabako and also Kotoko supporters no decide say Mugram Ewantoa ne omonso ene nananom e de asamna koja wo mu nanso muwura ho wiye no na se meetings bi koso amugo so ehwesa nwumrei ombetumi akwa Kotoko youth team no omo started division 3 no mabo 2 matches omo win ni nyina china omo wo match wo alignment so for alignment anso ene ni betumi atudwa na jese enhye no Jibo ye nyina so na yemfa mesi wo ho.
All right, young caller.